Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Guidewire for Salesforce. I'm Tom Lee from Guidewire, and I'll be your host today. Before I introduce our presenters, if you have questions, please use the Q&A feature and not the chat. And if we can't answer your questions today, we'll make sure that we do after the webinar. We'll have that available in all the Q&A that was posted, and we'll have it posted on a secure website along with the recording of this webinar and a copy of this presentation. Next slide, please. Although what you see here today from a product perspective is in production, we may speak about futures, so I'm obligated to show our safe harbor statement. Next slide. And this is our agenda today. We'll be covering the following topics, but the focus today will be around the live webinar. So, okay, on to our presenters. I am delighted to introduce you to Kelly and Tim. Kelly Utley is product leader at Salesforce.com, who has developed and launched multiple products at Salesforce, including Financial Services Cloud, and more recently, Salesforce Blockchain. In her current role, she works with our insurance customers across the world to help them create more agile businesses using the Salesforce platform. Tim Larson is our senior sales consultant at Guidewire. He has worked for software vendors in the P&C industry for 30 years, focusing on policy administration and digital engagement. He currently works with our sales leads focused on Guidewire's digital solutions, including Guidewire for Salesforce. Tim, over to you.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Hello, everyone. So I'm super excited today. I get to be the individual that gets to demonstrate to you our Guidewire for Salesforce application. And I have a lot to show you within that demonstration. So I'm going to really just kind of get right into things. However, before I really start giving you the show and tell, I wanted to make sure we're all looking at the same problem or the situation that this solution is addressing. So allow me just quickly to run through this. I know with this audience, I'm effectively preaching to the choir, but again, I just want to make sure we're all looking at it through the same lens. So clearly, in today's world, the insurance market, the customer needs and expectations have evolved considerably from where they used to be 5 or 10 years ago, or really even in the last 6 months or so. Consumers have extremely high expectations. They're just going to assume that carriers have a strong digital channel and support for omni-channel processing. They also are going to assume that they're going to get their quotes and claims to be processed in hours and minutes and not days and weeks. And they're going to have zero hesitation to switch carriers if they ever feel that they had a negative service experience. So it's not at all surprising that this is leading to an extremely competitive market. Carriers having to fight really hard just to gain those new customers, while at the same time are in a constant battle just to keep those that they already have on the books. Moreover, insurance carriers are having to deal with all those new entrants or digital disruptors that are flooding the market, who are very, very nimble and optimized for the digital buying experience. Now, on the flip side, on the internal side, the carrier service reps and agents, who are the customer-facing side of the carrier, they are challenged with providing that great customer service. And because most carriers are still bogged down by their traditional disparate legacy applications, these users really have to struggle with bouncing between the different applications, often performing redundant tasks with no clearly defined standards and practices to give them guidance, and all while having poor, incomplete, or inaccurate views of the customer. So, of course, this doesn't lend itself to providing that great customer service. And overall productivity is negatively affected, so that ultimately results in diminished employee satisfaction. So it's basically a lose-lose proposition. Now, the situation is really ultimately caused by gaps in the systems or the applications that result in gaps in quality of the service. So the gaps is what we're looking to address with our partnership with Salesforce and the Guidewire for Salesforce solution. So from a Guidewire and Salesforce perspective, we really are two sides of the same core coin, if you will. So Guidewire brings insurance understanding and experience with a very robust core platform. We understand that property and casualty insurance is very complex, and we're focused on providing a complete solution that addresses the entire insurance lifecycle. Now, from Salesforce, they bring that CRM excellence and a very versatile platform to manage relationships with customers across multiple communication channels and provide that really robust engagement platform. So together, in partnership with Salesforce, we devised the most optimal and nimble integrated solution to bring the best of both of these platforms together. The integrated system enables a unified and holistic customer view, which allows those users to perform great customer service and exceed those customer expectations. So Guidewire for Salesforce is effectively the glue, if you will, that brings these two platforms together. Okay, so let's see this in action. So I'm going to take you now into Salesforce. So let me toggle over to that screen. So your screen should now be updated to reflect, in this case, it's a dashboard landing page. I'll give just a moment in case there's any lag there. So before I get into the kind of the nuts and bolts of the moving parts of this demonstration, I really kind of wanted to start at a little bit of a higher level. So this dashboard is a representation of that. Really what I'm trying to focus or illustrate here is taking advantage of the great report building capabilities within Salesforce, which is basically what is enabling this kind of a dashboard presentation. I've now included some basic elements from the Guidewire data model, in this case, the insurance premium associated with the different policies. And by doing just that simple data addition, again, sourced from the Guidewire Insurance Suite, I'm now able to create these reports that allow me to look through the lens of that insurance premium through a couple different methods. So I can see how well I'm tracking towards the sales targets. I can see overall opportunities that I have in flight and their respective potential premium. I can see my customers by their premium amounts and see, you know, who's my biggest customer on the books, and just basic things like that. So right off the bat, I'm able to take advantage of this integration from a reporting perspective. So that's just the very beginning. Let me now take your attention over to a different type of report. In this case, you're now looking at my task list. So if you're familiar at all with Guidewire's Insurance Suite, you're familiar with the concept of activities. Activities basically drive just about all the workflows within Insurance Suite, whatever they represent. Activities are extremely flexible. And so through this integration with Salesforce, we are now persisting activities and moving activities between the two platforms. So effectively what you're looking at here is all the activities across Insurance Suite, policy billing claims, that have been assigned to this user that I've logged in as. And I'm acting in this case more or less as a customer service rep. So just wanted to point out a couple things here that these represent. You notice the subject line gives me a sense of what the activity pertains to, and then I actually see the object, whether it's the claim, account, or policy that it is related to, and then a lot of status and metadata information as well. So just one example I have, this illustrates an activity where I'm collaborating with an underwriter, and in this case they've given me a response back saying they've approved whatever exception I've sent over to them for review and increased the deductible. So just one simple example of what an activity could represent. Let me switch this though just really quickly over to my open tasks. So these are all that have been assigned to me that I still have work to do. So clearly I have a busy day ahead of myself. But just again, just to give you some other use case examples, it could be a reminder to myself to finish a quote. It could be a notification, an alert that an insured actually did an online self-service FNOL submission through a digital channel. And this is alerting me to that fact. And then my task is to follow up with, in this case, Ryan Smith within a certain time frame. Billing Center sent Policy Center a delinquency notice, so now that's available for me to also see. So I know that Mr. Frank Ernest, his account has moved into a delinquency type of status, and I can take proactive measures, maybe reach out and solicit payment from Frank, or at least let him know that he is now delinquent. The last one I'll point out is this row number 10. In this case, it's interesting because this is actually generated from a batch renewal process that through its rules indicated the fact that a particular policy cannot be, the renewal cannot be completed because of some issue with the actual policy. So if I click on this, I can get a sense of, in fact, that it looks like there's a risk profile or authority limit exceeded. In this case, I looked into it, and it's the fact that there's a very large loss claim on this particular policy. So just giving you a couple examples of that. So again, this is just one, and in my mind, I think this is one of the more important moving parts as far as the data integration, just because it showcases how the two platforms can be leveraged together to provide a collaboration platform between users in Salesforce and users in Guidewire. So let me pick on one of these. I'll actually pick on this insured FNOL. I'm going to go into now an account for Ryan Smith. It's a personal account. So I'm now navigated automatically into that account view. So now I'm looking at that customer 360 view. Now I'll warn you, as I move around and demonstrate different things, I'm really truly acting as a customer service rep. You're going to see me multitask. I'm going to be moving very quickly from one screen to another transaction and back and forth. And that really is just showcasing the power of Salesforce as it can represent these different views, just allowing me a lot of freedom just to move around, put things on the back burner and move over to different tasks as I may need to. Okay, but back to this screen. So this is that Customer 360. So a lot of information we're aggregating here. Now, I will also tell you that this is all out of the box behavior. Besides those reports I started with, I didn't do any additional configuration. So if you've seen those demonstrations that are, labeled as art of the possible, that's not what this is. This is true capabilities that you'd have out of the box. Think of this as your starting point that, using your requirements and creativity, you would build out from here. Okay, so with all that said, let me just give you a quick tour. So you notice a few things right off the bat. We can see the life events. We see a premium breakdown by the line of business. And I'm going to continue to scroll down. Just staying here on the right-hand side for a moment. Activities and notes. So we talked about activities at an aggregate level. These are the activities associated with this particular account, as well as the respective notes. So again, these items are being exchanged. The data objects are being exchanged between the two platforms. And this presentation will be consistent, as you'll see, as I move to a policy as well as a claim. They also have their respective activities and notes that are going to be displayed. Okay, moving back to the left-hand side. So Salesforce being the great CRM application, these are the different leads that have moved into opportunities and actually led to actual sales of policy, which I'll demonstrate to you here in just a moment. And then as I scroll down, you notice I have a lot of other information that's presented to me. This next table is representing an in-flight endorsement or policy change that I can pick up and complete, and I'll do that again in just a moment. No renewals yet for this particular account. I see all the different completed transactions. As I continue to scroll down, these are the two policies that have been sold and are in force for this account. All the different claims on this particular policy. Now notice two are open, one is still in a draft mode. We'll come back and complete that one in just a moment as well. And then lastly, to round it out, the billing status. So I see a summary here of the overall status and then a breakdown of the individual policies and their specific status. So basically, policy, billing, and claims information for this account is all aggregated on a single screen. So initially, when this customer service rep navigates to this page, they have a very good insight with a matter of seconds as far as what kind of customer they're speaking to. Okay. So we talked about the account or customer 360 view. Let's delve in one layer deeper from a hierarchy perspective, if you will. I'm going to delve into an actual policy right now. So I'll click on the personal auto policy in this case. And it's going to take me into a representation of the data that is applicable just to this policy. So a lot of the tables are similar to what we saw on the account level page, but of course now they relate to the information specific to this policy only. On the right-hand side, you see a summary of the billing categories, whether it's billed, unbilled, paid, etc. Going down more on the right-hand side, you see the type of billing plan that's been imposed for this particular policy, personal auto policy. And then, as I mentioned, any activities and notes that are specific to this policy. And you notice in this case, I have an activity reminder. It's a good student discount. I need to contact the customer and get his grades from the last semester, so I can maybe give him a discount, and then I can look at the notes here and I just have a reminder saying, okay, based upon the grade average that he has, what kind of discount that he may get. Just one example of activities and notes. Okay, so very quickly, we see the policy endorsements in flight, renewals, transactions, as well as claims specific again to this policy. I'm now going to move up to the top and click on the details tab. So we have a lot of additional information that we keep on a tabular type of a level, so we can move from the policy summary page into specific areas. In this case now, I can delve into more specifics about the actual billing. So I see all the different invoices and the respective status, due date, and amount, etc. I'll go back up to the top and click on the third tab, the coverages tab. You can probably guess what this is going to show. I see all the coverages from a policy level as well as risk level for the automobile on this policy, available from an inquiry perspective. So this CSR can quickly gain access and answer any kind of questions related to the current coverages that are applied to this particular policy. Okay, So a lot of information, again, is readily available. You probably notice here on the right-hand side where I'm hovering around, you also have the opportunity to initiate a policy change as well as a claim for this particular policy. Both of those transactions we'll do here in just a second. All right, so I know I'm going to move through this fairly quickly, but I want to try to cover as much as possible in a short amount of time. So let me go ahead and start an actual transaction. In this case, we're going to kick off a new lead. I'm going to keep it fairly lean and mean. We're going to say that there's marketing an aggressive push to create some new insurance customers. And I have a new lead for Brian Smith for another auto, I'll say it's personal auto standard package. Keep it pretty simple. And I don't have to fill out much of this information here, so I'll just enter the required fields. We got the stage. And that's basically it. I'll just pick the close date. I figure I'm going to be pretty aggressive and get this done by tomorrow. So now I have a brand new opportunity, just like any other type of opportunity that's managed within the context of Salesforce. But this one's a little different because notice here on the right-hand side, as soon as I have worked with this customer to the point where they are ready, I can kick off a new quote transaction. That's exactly what I'm doing here. So right from the beginning, I can take this individual from a lead to an opportunity to an actual selling event. And now what I'm actually doing is starting a quote submission process. So I did a quick look up here for Ryan, confirming he is on the an insurance company customer on the books. I'm going to pick the actual agent that I want to service this particular customer once I'm done here. And then I can pick whatever line of business that I want in terms of the quote submission that I want to pursue. So in this case, I'll just pick homeowners and I can say go. Now, in the interest of time and avoid embarrassment of having you watch me type, I'm going to jump over to a draft quote transaction that I already started. But before I do that, I just want to point out a couple of things. This quote submission is actually doing a real-time conversation with Policy Center. So this isn't a standalone web form that's just capturing data. This is a real-time transaction that we're taking advantage of all the configurations that you've done within Policy Center to support the quote submission. So whatever your product represents from a quote intake is what this is going to effectively represent, and then allow for all the other configurations and rules and other types of behavior that you've told Policy Center to do is actually going to be executed just as if this user was working within Policy Center. Okay. All right. So let me jump over from this. I'm just going to stop this short and I'm going to go over to an existing draft transaction that I had set up for Mr. Grant Thompson, where I've taken it through the point where you see here that I actually have a quote. Now this one's now a personal auto quote, and it's showing me, I've taken it to where I actually see the different premiums shown. I see it in a side-by-side type of a presentation. I can now go in and do any kind of refinements to the coverages. But before I do that, let me just kind of walk you through the steps just so you have an opportunity to see what was involved if I was to create this from scratch. So basically just pick the effective date. I have some knockout rules. I've captured some driver information as you see here. I'm going to now capture the vehicle information. So if you have any kinds of data integrations or service provider integrations for MVR lookups or credit reports or Clue, whatever, what have you, those would all be called just as, again, if you were doing the submission within Policy Center. So now I've taken it to the step where it's going to apply the quote, or really apply all the rating algorithms that have been defined within Policy Center. Brings back the 3 different offerings, good, better, best. And now I can proceed. So this is where I'm going to effectively haggle with the customer, try to upsell them on a particular coverage type. So I've increased the liability for the standard package and recalculate that. And I can see the impact of $33 on the premium. And let's just say that was enough to sell a customer. I can now move forward into the actual completion of this particular submission. I'll get a summary of what the policy risks look like. And then ultimately be taken to where I can actually identify the payment plan and capture down payment and complete this policy. So it will be in force as soon as I enter in my credit card. Obviously this would be the customer's credit card information, and that was all fictitious data. So if you're doing screenshots at home, that's not going to help you too much. Okay, so that was it. I have now taken that from a marketing lead to an opportunity to a sale event to an in-force policy on this customer for Grant Thompson. So is that transmission, the data exchange is moving back and forth between Salesforce and Policy Center. And again, any dependencies within Policy Center, downstream processes. Right now, I'm generating alerts and notifications. Documents like deck pages, ID cards, certificates are all being produced and distributed just as they normally would with any other type of quote submission within Guidewire. Okay, so a lot of potential there, but let's move over to a different kind of a view. I wanted to make sure that everyone's comfortable. I often start with a more of a simple flow, but now I'm going to move over to a commercial account just to bring up and make sure I reinforce that this same solution works just the same for both personal lines as well as commercial lines. So I'm now looking at a commercial account for Perfect Plumbers. I see now he has a property as well as workers' comp and business or BOP policy on the books for his account. And just like the personal lines account view, we saw he has the same kind of activities and notes and representation of all the different types of billing, claims, and policy information that we're looking at from a personal line standpoint. Okay, so it's going to be consistent behavior between the two types of personal lines as well as commercial lines. Okay. With all that said, let's move back to Mr. Ryan, where we had started that submission but stopped short. But I wanted to come back because this is where I had that in-flight endorsement set up. And so it's a simple matter. Once I'm ready as a CSR to pick up where I left off, I just click the edit button and it's going to bring me into that draft endorsement transaction. Excuse me. So in this case, this is for his house, and we're going to endorse. In fact, we're going to, add a scheduled item, valuable, and then tweak the coverages just a little bit. And the way we do endorsements for personal lines, we present this what we call a progressive disclosure. So we only show pieces of the policy that's appropriate for what this individual user wants to change, right? So in this case, I have an opportunity to change these three types of parts of the policy. So I'm going to change the valuables as well as the coverages and continue on. And so I had started this where for the valuables, I'd already added one item, a piece of jewelry. Let's go ahead and add, oops, I want to add a second item. Very quickly, just to show you this behavior. And I'll say this is stamps, and they're going to be worth $5,000. And we get the deductible and replacement costs. And now we have a new scheduled item attached to the policy. So two new items that we're going to include in this endorsement. And as I mentioned, I'm going to tweak the coverages. So as soon as I've finished the valuables, I'm now moving into the second step of what I wanted to change on the policy. And I can scroll through, and you notice because of my authority rights, I can pick from all the different product model values that are set up for me. In this case, I'm going to keep it simple. I'll just change the deductible to $1,500. It's going to do a quick check, dependency check on the coverages. And along the way, just so you know, behind the scenes, rules are being executed to confirm the validations of anything that I've selected. And if there are if I'm doing anything to exceed my authority from my authority profile, I will get messages in real time presented to me. Okay, anyway, I did the quote. It came back, shows me the delta, the difference impact on the policy is $60. I can see the total amount of this, what the premium for this policy is going to be, and I can actually go ahead and put this on the books. So again, depending on your use case and level of empowerment, you can choose to allow for the CSRs to go ahead and capture payment, and we'll go ahead and finish off that endorsement. All right, that's effectively it. So, I did a lot of talking throughout that process, but you can see just how really quick and easy it is for these users to be able to make endorsement changes to their policy. Now, just to round out the thought, and I won't belabor this too much, but the same concept for endorsements certainly is also available for commercial lines. In this case, I have I believe this is a commercial property endorsement that I can get back into in terms of picking up where I'd left off. And it's going to bring this endorsement back to me. And notice I've taken it to the quote step. I can see the impact on the premium, the new premium. And this is a little bit of a different view from what we were just seeing, in that commercial policies can get pretty complex. I may have started this 2 days ago and then forgotten exactly what all I've changed. But this is basically allowing me to see what was in place on the existing term and what I'm proposing for this endorsement. So it's showing me all the modifications that I've made to this policy, and I can review that. And then, of course, I can also back up and make additional changes that I may wish to. So in this case, this policy represents a lot of different locations, as you see here. Oops, actually wanted to pick a different location. I'll pick on this Redondo Beach store. And basically this is just showing me this location and building, and I have an opportunity to go into each area and make edits as appropriate. So you can see the locations, I can make updates to the building, and of course make changes to the coverages, just as you saw me do a moment ago for that personal auto policy. So let me just tweak this value so I have a change to the building. Notice all the different coverages. They would represent, you know, the coverages that you would set up for your commercial line. Notice I could also use a spreadsheet to import locations as part of the functionality available out of the box, but that's, I'll keep it short and sweet for this particular demonstration. And we get right back to that quote as where we started this flow at, and I can see exactly what has changed, including that change that I just made to the coverages that you see here at the bottom. Okay. And again, go ahead and make payment. So I think I'll stop there for this. I think that gives you a decent indication of what that endorsement flow looks like. Let me switch gears now. I want to make sure that everyone has an appreciation that this isn't just for policy type processing. This also supported all of the claims type processing as well. So if you are a claims only or a claims center only customer, this solution will still work for you and provide the capabilities that I'm about to demonstrate now. So let me move back to Ryan. So I want to get back to Ryan's account, and I'm going to scroll down. As I mentioned, I have 2 claims that are on the books and another one that's in draft. Let's go ahead and just poke in to one that's on the books and look at it from a claims inquiry perspective. So the first thing you'll notice, we have some summary information up top. We have some aging analysis and financials, as well as a risk indicator. So this is all obviously supported from Claim Center, and all of the summary information that it has available to it is being presented here in a representation in Salesforce. Again, I can't stress this enough. The activities and notes that are associated with this particular claim are here on the right-hand side. Not sure what. Some weird mouse behavior, so I can quickly navigate around and see exactly what kinds of notes, and notes are extremely important, as you probably know, from a claim settlement standpoint, to capture all the decisioning type of logic. But we have a lot of other information that's also available besides just the summary here. First thing I'll take you into is the policy snapshot. If you're familiar at all with claims, you have an appreciation that we have to keep a moment in time, frozen state of what the policy looks like as of the date of loss, the date and time of the actual loss. So that's what this policy snapshot represents. This is all the coverage information at a policy and risk level that was in effect as of the loss date of this particular claim. So this will always persist and be available and provide a lot of key information as to why particular decisions were made in terms of the claim settlement. Now we have kind of the converse of that. If you notice the timeline tab, this is going to show all events across the lifetime of this particular claim. This one's got a little bit of maturity on it, as you'll see. So different types of service vendors were being involved to do different types of service work. We have towing, we have some body shop work, we have some medical tied to this particular accident. So lots going on here, but we do provide a nice filter that allows you to kind of drill in, look at maybe the high priority items, or maybe those that you want to delve into more detail for whatever reason. In this case, this particular work looks like just was recently delayed. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. We'll come back to that in just a moment, but this is just a really nice summary of all the different events that are occurring across the lifetime of this particular claim. Now, the related tab, the last one on this particular claim file, this is actually going to allow me access to see the different exposures, as you see, as well as the different services that have been assigned. So these are all the vendor services associated with this claim, and a summary of where they stand in terms of status, amounts of cost of against the claim, etc., things like that. Now let's just say the use case is, as a user, I want to know a little bit more about that particular service work that I had seen the notification that it was delayed, and I'm empowered to actually do this. So you have opportunity to decide if you want users to be able to actually delve in and get more details. So what I'm explaining here is, if I click on this particular service request, I, as the user, am now being automatically navigated into Claim Center. all right? And not just in the claim center, into the claim that is related to that particular customer. And not just the claim. If you notice, there's a lot of information around this claim. I'm taking specifically into the claim, the part of the claim file dealing with services, specifically the service that I had selected. So with one click, I'm now taken into the area that I can glean all the underlying low-level details about the particular service work that I was interested in seeing. Okay, so maybe I just want to see some details around how this particular vendor is performing towards the different targets. So just a basic capability of Claim Center. So clearly, just giving the users that extra step to be able to get additional information to supplement what they would natively have available to them on the screen. Okay, and I'm just going to conclude this discussion with a quick submission of a claim, just so you have an opportunity to see that also in action. So let me pick up, I believe I had one for, yes, Mr. Richmond here. So again, this one's set up as a draft, so you didn't have to watch me go through all the steps of this particular claim, but let me just back up and I'll walk you through it. So basically it's just an FNOL type of a flow. And again, just like the policy quote submission, this is talking directly with Claim Center and everything that is configured within Claim Center to do. So all the triaging, the notifications, the policy lookup, the data validations, the rules, the adjuster assignment, et cetera, they're all going to be executed just as if I did this claim submission within Claim Center, right? So I'm just going to blow through this fairly quickly. It's a pretty standard FNOL submission for an accident. In this case, I've indicated where the accident occurred at, brief description. I got an indication of the characteristics of the accident, what vehicle and what individual was involved. And again, this is being pulled automatically from Policy Center and presented as a drop-down, so I don't have to type that information in. It's available for me. Indicate where the damage is. And this is an interesting aspect of this digital solution. So again, this is Guidewire's digital embedded within the confines of Salesforce. So this is taking advantage of some additional functionality where in this case, let's say I want to decide what vendor is going to actually do the service work, whether it's towing or body repair. So I'm taking into a map representation. It's defaulting to the known addresses, my policy address, as well as the incident. So I'll click on the incident. And the reason I'm navigating you to this is to showcase now, based upon where that incident occurred, looks like upper part of San Francisco, I can now choose from my or your vendor network, the different vendors that are in a proximity radius that you would allow for this individual to select to assign the actual work to do on this claim, right? So in this case, this would be Express Auto as part of your vendor network. You're defining what his rating is and what vendors are going to be displayed to the service rep in this case as they go through this flow. And of course, adding documents, recordings, pictures, whatever, to help illustrate the nature of the accident. And I'll attach that to the claim submission, confirm the contact details, and then lastly, just get a kind of review, and maybe I just want to send a note to whoever the adjuster is that gets assigned, and let's just say that Mr. Bill Richmond has, he left his phone charger in the car that got towed, something like that. And what this will do is actually create a note, attach it to the claim file, and then alert the adjuster once they're assigned that they have a note to review as part of their tasks. That's effectively it. So that was a auto claim. I can do that for personal property. I can also do that for commercial lines in the exact same fashion. All right, I have taken you through a lot of different things in a very short amount of time. But I did want to really kind of put you in the mindset of an actual CSR that's having to really bounce around and multitask and do a lot of different things in a very short amount of time. And again, this really illustrates just how good Salesforce is about allowing for that. And then through our integration to allow for a lot of additional capabilities for the CSR to do without ever leaving Salesforce, unless they absolutely wanted to or needed to, like I did when I navigated into Claim Center. So let's move back and let me kind of bring this all home. And some summary information for you here. Wanted to give you just a brief glimpse as to what is under the hood driving the solution. So we really have three key fundamental integration mechanisms. We have the simple in concept data integrations. It's not simple in implementation, but what we've done is ensure that the appropriate amount of data between Salesforce and Guidewire is persisted in the appropriate platform. So this allows for the capabilities of Salesforce to take advantage of that. So the global search can now gain access to claims as well as policies. It's going to support that omni-channel transactional support. So effectively Claim Center users are collaborating in real time with Guidewire users, and then allowing for that seamless cross-system workflows to also occur. Now, I will point out we are very judicious about what data is moved and persisted. We did not want to just throw all the data up. Moving data is expensive. It adds potential maintenance. So what you'll actually see is we've taken kind of a minimalistic approach as far as what data actually is persisted in either platform, and only doing it for if there's a specific use case that requires it, because the remaining part of the data that you've seen me represent as I went through my workflows is actually brought in on the fly using the view and demand support, taking advantage of Salesforce Lightning's web components. So this allows for, and you probably didn't notice any hesitation, it's extremely performant in terms of supplementing all the data that you're seeing on the screen with data that's being promoted in real time up from Insurance Suite. So this really does provide that 360 view and expands on the context of all the other information available natively within Salesforce. Lastly, as you saw, as I was going through those transactions, the quote transaction, the endorsement transaction, as well as the claim FNOL, all that's leveraging Guidewire's digital solution embedded directly within Salesforce. So again, it allows you to take full advantage of all the investment you've put into Policy Center as well as Claim Center without having to repeat or configure those elements redundantly. And it's allowing for that secured access of the transactional flows that are provided by Guidewire. And it really just makes it a true seamless experience and provides the customer service rep or agent to be very, very brilliant in the moment as they're servicing their customers. The last thing I'll just point out very quickly before I turn it over to Kelly is the fundamental building blocks underneath. So we, of course, at the top layer, the engagement platform is driven by Salesforce Financial Services Cloud, and leveraging the integration APIs, talking through the ESB layer. By default, we've implemented MuleSoft. And then, of course, that talks to the back end, which is the Guidewire's solution, providing Policy Center, Billing Center, and Claim Center, talking to the integration APIs that are provided by Guidewire. Now, you also see on the right-hand side a representation where the same kind of approach could be used for non-Guidewire systems to effectively pull the data from those solutions and make it also available within the context of Salesforce. Obviously, that would be done, outside of the Guidewire project. That's entirely, kind of up to you to what and how to implement that. But it is something you can leverage what we provide as the design models to support those non-Guidewire backends. Okay, that was quite a bit in a short amount of time, but I think that gave you a decent overview. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Utley.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. And hello, everyone. It is fantastic to be here with you today. I'm going to run you through basically three things. The first is our vision for the Financial Services Cloud insurance product. The second is really the power of the Salesforce platform with that Financial Services Cloud insurance product as its foundation to really drive end-to-end transformation for the insurer. And then I'm going to share with you a really cool new solution that we have for insurance contact centers. So that beautiful demo that you saw Tim go through was really the manifestation of our initial product vision for the Financial Services Cloud. Now, what you saw in that demo was the Financial Services Cloud for insurance, and we started developing this product back in 2018. At the time, many insurers were well along the journey of modernizing their core operations. We were seeing a real shift from a build culture in insurance to really greater adoption of capabilities from InsurTech innovators. So it was this really exciting time from a tech perspective. However, there was still a problem, and that is all of this new tech, these new platforms, new applications, there still really wasn't that single source of truth for the customer. So insurers understood that they needed a platform to really unify all of this technology around the customer. And we would really hear this over and over again in the various customer boards we had and at our events. So this was really the need from the marketplace that prompted the Salesforce investment in insurance, and Guidewire became our very strategic partner in bringing that vision to life, as you saw here today. Now, 2 short years later, what we have is really a purpose-built digital engagement platform for insurance on Salesforce. It brings customer centricity to the industry, and sometimes that customer is a policyholder or an end insured. Other times it's the distributor, the independent distributor that you're looking to kind of gain that centricity around. And so we did that, and we span now the entire value chain supporting both carriers and distribution. So that was our initial product vision for insurance, and I feel like it's been realized. That demo today was beautiful. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the magic that happens when we take that insurance foundation that you guys saw here today and really extend it with the full power of the Salesforce platform. So Financial Services Cloud is not a point application. It is built on top of and powered by the Salesforce platform. And there's really kind of 3 core, there's a lot going on in this slide. There's really 3 core capabilities of that Salesforce Customer 360. So the first, let's look at that circle right in the center. It really is that single source of truth for the customer across sales, service, and marketing, really all of your points of interaction. And each one of those little icons that you see around the Customer 360 wheel, it represents a different business application. And there's little examples in there of the different use cases for how insurers are leveraging those business applications that are available on our platform. So if you think about what you saw here today, over at 9 o'clock, that insurance data model, that's our Financial Services Cloud for insurance. At 6 o'clock, you saw MuleSoft in action. So Tim mentioned how MuleSoft is, our integration platform and was leveraged in what you saw here today with the Guidewire integration. So that's the first core capability. The second is that little guy that you see in the center. That is Einstein. Einstein is our AI technology that basically enables you to better predict what your customers need and surface that information at the exact right moment in time. So think of it as AI that is very purpose-built for CRM. Finally, the third capability is our platform, and you see that outlined over there on the right. Now, we pioneered cloud delivery of software at Salesforce. We pioneered the idea of low-code, no-code development, and our platform really allows insurers, no matter what the size, to build some truly incredible experiences for their customers and their distributors. Technologies like mobile, AI, blockchain, security, all built natively into that platform and are instantly available to scale and meet the needs of all various sizes of insurers, carriers, and distributors. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at 1 o'clock on our wheel of Salesforce. That really represents, that little heart there, that represents our business applications that are focused on service. So we're going to do a double click and take a look at a new capability that we launched this week and just really think about how the foundation you saw today can be amplified with the power of the platform. So we're going to talk about voice. Many of our insurance customers have adopted our platform to really drive omni-channel, digital engagement, self-service. How we bring our products to market around omni-channel, we literally call it digital engagement. So there's really great innovation happening on digital channels, but many insurance customers are telling us that upwards of 75% of their service interactions are still coming in through the phone. And that's certainly true of more complex relationships. So just last week, we announced Service Cloud Voice. So Service Cloud Voice basically enables you to integrate telephony, route calls, right alongside all of those digital channels within the Financial Services Cloud Service Console. So think about it. What this is really doing is bringing that power of Einstein to the phone call. With intelligent transcriptions, agents and supervisors can view voice and CRM data in real time Einstein can analyze those conversations to serve the right knowledge articles up and also serve up next steps and next best actions for the CSRs to take. So this is going to help boost customer satisfaction, certainly, reduce data entry, minimize call wrap-up time, but it's also really going to start driving more actionable insights and visibility for coaching and training. So this has not been done before. No one has been able to bring telephony, digital conversations, and CRM data in real time for both the CSR and the supervisor, all delivered in the context of that beautiful experience that you saw demoed earlier. So Service Cloud Voice is really part of a new solution to address the needs of contact centers across the globe. And with that solution, we're bringing together Financial Services Cloud for insurance, Guidewire, our Service Cloud Voice telephony, Einstein for Service, which is our AI that's been optimized for insurance service transactions, digital channels, our digital engagement capabilities. And so literally on the Salesforce platform, we can transform the contact center end to end. Our strategic partnership, we have a strategic partnership with Amazon, and that has really allowed us to deliver this in a very packaged way, or you can plug your own telephony capabilities in. So at the end of the day, this solution is going to drive certainly more proactive and personalized service, better efficiencies with quickly handling calls, reducing that average handle time, and really optimizing for volume surges. And that's something, you know, certainly in this era of the pandemic can definitely fluctuate. Supervisors can see what the CSRs are seeing. All of this is in real time. And IT leaders love it because it really helps them to simplify their infrastructure and be able to deliver capabilities to the business. So that is a little bit about our insurance solution for contact centers that we're really, really excited about bringing to market. We actually have John Hancock is our charter customer. They're obviously in a different line of business probably than many of the folks on the call here today, but we were thrilled that we had an insurance customer really driving the initial success of this product. So with that, it was my pleasure to be here with you today and share a little bit about what's going on at Salesforce. Tom, I think I'm turning it back to you.
Thanks, Kelly, and thanks, Tim. Before we go to the wrap up, I'm going to launch a poll here, a 3-question, very quick poll. It'd be really great if you could answer that. It really helps us out with future webinars and how we can improve them. And Tim, next slide, please. And if you need any more information, again, you'll have this presentation. There's a link here on our corporate website so you can get more information about Guidewire for Salesforce. And then here are your key contacts from both the Salesforce and the Guidewire side. So if you want more information, a demo, a more one-on-one session, please leverage these people here on this slide.